their homeschooling. Everything in their family is running smoothly. Everyone's learning. And effectively, each family member is in their happy place. Each child is getting a well-balanced education, and they'll be prepared for adulthood. And we want our homeschool to be running like an angelic symphonic orchestra. Every family member playing their part, performing well, blending together in perfect harmony. But life gets in the way. And the reality is, most of my sheet music is missing. It's in the wrong order. What? Are you playing that tune again? And the different instruments, they're not playing nice. You're not even working together. And everyone, quite frankly, is off key. The parts of our lives are running all over each other in disarray, and my reality does not feel very symphonic right now. It's chaotic, and it's more like clanging cymbals. My name is Ruth Tennis, and I'm a curriculum consultant for Rainbow Resource Center. As curriculum consultants, we study curriculum and we talk weekly to hundreds of families. About curriculum, yes, but we also talk to families about managing and maintaining their homeschool to find the best fit for their family. And we also speak out of experience, often what we've learned the hard way. Let me tell you a bit about the orchestra that was my homeschool. I educated 4 children from K to graduation for 16 years. 5 years of that, we did long-distance caregiving for elderly parents every other week. For an additional 4 years, we brought the parents in our home and we were caregiving there. The week they moved in was the week I started drinking coffee, and I've been running high octane ever since. For 7 years, I was a self-employed editor, and we did the homestead thing. We raised chickens, we gardened, we canned. I even made homemade bread. And there were points in the journey that were just a blur. In fact, I just literally got sucked in the vortex of it all. For the longest time, when people asked, "Are all those kids yours?" my answer was yes. I had 4 kids in 5 years. And then finally, after saying this for years, and the 3 oldest kids were out of the house, and my youngest was 15 years old, he said to me, "Mom, I think your math is wrong." My math can't be wrong. And we figured it out. All these years, I'd been lying to people. 4 kids, 4 years, and 2 of those came at the same time. So here I was a teacher, and apparently I couldn't do simple math. Or maybe even I didn't even know what I was talking about. So how do we have a finely tuned homeschool? First, embrace the fact that you are doing a lot. There are a lot of goals, a lot of activity, a lot of demands, and a lot of potential stresses happening in your homeschool. And it is important to recognize those variables. And we must also embrace the fact that our desires don't always match our reality. And embrace our own limitations and that we are incapable, nor should we do all that our hearts desire. So if we can agree that there is a lot of work to do, how do we go about doing it? So our initial response is to make a long to-do list and just head down the list and check off the boxes and try to get it all done. And this is a fairly common response to achieving, to make sure things are accomplished. But I would like to suggest to you instead to consider a principle-based approach. Why? Well, with a task-first based approach, there's a tendency for the what to determine who we are. We're saying, look at what we've accomplished today. That's who I am. What we're really doing with a task-based approach is we set the goals before we've determined why we're doing them. And the tasks end up driving us and determining how we live. A task-based approach can implicitly say, when we do X, Y, Z, then we'll be a happy family and accomplished what we should. Now, at Rainbow, we've developed a principle-based tool to help you select the best curriculum fit for your family. However, we have found that this tool can also guide you in more smoothly orchestrating your homeschool. And we've compiled this acronym, FAMILY. And you can use the family way as a principle-based approach to determining your homeschool routine and make the most out of your homeschool experience. So, family, F stands for faith and philosophy, your why you're doing things. A is for approach to life and to learning. M is for money, no explanation needed. Individual, their needs, learning styles, motivations. L is for life. The seasons you're in, your situational factors, your events that are happening. And Y is for you. Your strengths, your weaknesses, the training you need, the support you need. Each of these family factors will influence you and your choices, but they will also weave together, affecting each other and the choices your family makes. The first two, F and A, are more philosophical, and they play a major role in your homeschool management. But we'll work through each of the family factors and how they work as management tools. A principle-based approach to accomplishing tasks starts with examining your God-given purpose of your family. What is your purpose? Why are you homeschooling? And to what end? First, with your spouse, firmly define your values. Determine your family identity. And then you'll be able to select tasks and activities that align according to your principles. Your principles, faith, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, will drive what comes on your list, what's on your list and what's not on your to-do list. What things are of most value for you to accomplish each day. You'll have freedom then to prioritize and to say yes to the best things and no to things that shouldn't be there. Your actions will align with your principles. And it's much easier to remember these principles instead of a long list of individual things. So back to our F in the family way. What guides your homeschool? Your family. What are your reasons to homeschool? What is your family identity? What are your family values? What are your educational goals? And then, how does this family description of yours affect relationships? Your relationships with each other, with your extended family, with your church family, with your community. Now, for example, if you are a Christian, you may be familiar with the fact that Jesus took all 611 commandments and summarize them into 2 memorable ones. It's a lot easier to remember 2 than 611. And so condensing your family identity down into a few statements will help you remember it and use it well. For example, are you wanting your children to become dependent on God, independent, mature adults? Do you want them to develop the skills necessary to live in society? Do you want them to value relationships? Do you want them to treat others with kindness and respect? Consider what are your family's greatest strengths and talents. Now, if it helps you, come up with a family mission statement, a manifesto, if you will, guiding principles. It'll take prayer and biblical direction. Write it up with your spouse. A good mission statement provides clearly stated purposes and goals. And it will help you determine why you do what you do and how you do it. And once this is written, run these factors back over. Look at it and make sure that it's real. Is it simple enough, like those 2 great commandments, to remember? Is it something you can really achieve and apply in your life? Is it livable, practical? Remember, though, that there is an element that should be beyond human capability. You will be returning to these statements regularly. It will help you step back and evaluate your life and your situation, your progress. It will help you focus your trajectory and stay on course. And every time there is a significant change in your family life or your dynamics and your situation, come back to these mission statements, and it will help you refocus and reconsider how these goals can be changed in light of your new situation. Major changes have a way of attacking your overall goals, unless you're intentional about it. Now, A in family is approach. What learning approaches and curriculum you employ. Now, as a homeschooler, your curriculum choices play a major role in your day and in your day in and day out. And we need to consider the demands of the method you're using, how it's structured, the demands that the curriculum makes of you and also of your students, and how these fit in with your family. Now, there are certain flex factors in curriculum. Most curriculum can be examined in multiple ways, but I'd like to highlight 2. The structure of it and the parental involvement necessary. We don't often think about these. We think about what's popular or what is trending right now or what you've always used. But these 2 aspects, structure and parental involvement, combined play a significant role in your home routine. And each curriculum will have its own innate benefits and challenges. So the most structured and the most parent involvement is on one end of the continuum, and then you have different variations to the least structured and the least parent involvement. On the most parent involvement side, you've got traditional textbooks where all of the information is being disseminated from the teacher to the student, or the classical methodology where much of the same thing is occurring as well, particularly at the lower levels. And then you have different variations of that in different choices. And the least structured and the least parent involvement would be more of an unschooling approach, or also having the student do everything in workbooks, and they're completely, as a student, self-directed. And there are positives and negatives in each of these. And you may want to consider an eclectic approach. An eclectic is when you use certain kinds of curriculum for different things, and you will combine both ends of this continuum together to create the best fit for your family. In addition, if you're dealing with multiples, you may want to have some different types of curriculum. Some curriculum out there they're circled around a theme or a topic, and they can be used for multiple ages, where every student is working on their own level, but they're on the same topic. Some examples are unit studies, where you're centering several subjects around a central theme. I recently wrote a llama unit study, and so the theme was llamas, but then for social studies, we studied the culture of Peru. For science, we studied breeding and related animals. For math, we discussed percentages, and we learned how to calculate the proper amount of protein in animal feed. And certain subjects lend themselves to combining multiple ages. For example, in elementary science, many curricula out there are designed for grades 1 through 6, and students in those ages can often be combined, or you might study a topic of some sort in science, and that will allow you to combine several students together and streamline your day. Social studies also lends itself very well to multiple ages together. Grades 1 through 6 again, and sometimes even higher grades, depending on the curriculum. Many curricula are available out there which are based on cycles, and so you will have a main spine that will work for various ages, and then every student is reading that spine, you're working together on that, and then they'll go out and select specific books that are related to that theme for their level. What about traditional textbooks? Can I use those? Certainly, especially if they are using a familiar scope and sequence where for every year you're following the same pattern, but you're working on that student's level. Then it's very easy for you as teacher to move from one level to the other, and you know exactly where to come in. That structure is familiar and secure for you, and then you can just adapt to that specific student's needs. The classical methodology also is a way they can group students by levels. So they may, if your curriculum follows the trivium, you can have the grammar, the dialectic, and the rhetoric, for example, and all of those students would be together. So your grammar, your middle students, and your high school students together. Be careful, though. There's the tendency to have cookie cutter philosophy. Remember that one size does not fit all, and what has worked with an older student may not work with this individual student. Money, money, money. We always have to be on a budget, and M in family is for money. Budget constraints can become more challenging with multiple children, and you've always got that argument, time versus money. And if you're spending less on money, often the time expenditure is going to be higher, or vice versa. And be aware of using used. I was a fan of used curriculum and finding things for the cheapest, but often I spent a lot more time trying to find that and photocopying a curriculum, and spent more time and money doing that than just buying it new. So beware of the cookie cutter fallacy here as well. Maybe you want to buy a great big expensive program and use it for 12 years for your family. There are some problems potentially with that. It may not be practical. Editions change, and you may not be able to find the student workbooks for the same edition. They may change it on you. Also, things may become irrelevant, or it just may not be practical. It may not apply to your younger kids as well as it worked for your older kids. And watch out. Don't use a curriculum only because of money reasons. That's usually not a good idea. Now, we've worked through the first 3 letters of the family way, and now we're to the people factors. This is where your home environment and your daily activities will be really distinctly different from the homeschool right next door. Individuals. Consider your individual students. We want to move away from a do list, a transaction-based approach, to a transformational approach. Where do you want your students to grow? Not, what did you get done today? Instead, who are you becoming? Remember that your child is not you. And remember that your child is not your spouse. What are your child's motivational factors? Are they a morning person or an afternoon person? What are their strengths and weaknesses and skills? Consider their learning styles. Are they auditory learners? Are they tactile? Need to touch things? Do they need to move? Are they kinesthetic? Are they visual learners? I guess I'm not a visual learner. These are broad categories, but they are included in your school. Don't completely cater to one learning style. Each of our children should be able to learn using different styles. Then, what about L? Life factors. Your life is different from mine, and there are things happening in your home that are different from mine or your friends. So, what changes are on the forefront? Is there an illness in the family or a long-term illness? Are there job changes on the forefront? Do you have additional responsibilities outside of the home? Are you self-employed? And look at short-term changes versus long-term changes. When these things happen, return to your philosophy, your family mission statement. It will help you remember what you're doing and not let the life changes just totally overwhelm and sideswipe you. Also, in life are things like how your family interacts and works with each other, and your extracurricular activities. There are advantages and disadvantages with extracurricular activities, but I want to warn you, be very careful and cautious and judicious how you choose those. They can overtake your life. How do these extras really fit into your overall plan and your philosophy? I found that sometimes the reason I wanted extra activities was because I was bored with my normal. Or I felt like I was missing out, my kids were missing out of something important compared to the other family. And those would be the wrong reasons to do extracurricular activities. Remember, again, to focus on your end goal with your kids and your families rather than the activities themselves. And remember that as homeschoolers, you've got a lot of extracurricular going on in your home anyway, and there are things that they're learning and gaining that they won't get in a special activity outside of the home. When my parents moved in and we were caregiving for them, I felt sometimes like they were missing out. But think of all the good things that they've learned as a result. They've learned compassion and serving and doing things for others, just as an example. Make sure that you look at the commitment for extracurricular activities, how long that's going to involve you, and will we be able to bow out gracefully if we need to? And now we're at the last letter of family. You. Y-O-U. You can only pour out what's been poured into you. Make sure that you feed yourself well and you're not burning the candle at both ends. So there are categories that you need to make sure you're investing in for yourself. Your spiritual, your health, physical health, and your emotional health. And then relationships. You've got so many relationships going on every day with your children, but that relationship with your spouse is extremely important. And good, solid friends as well are very much needed for you to invest in them, but also for them to invest in you. And remember, your profession is teaching, so invest in your profession. So thus far, we've focused on the principles. The family way will flesh itself out in practical ways, specifically designed to respond to your specific family. But there are some practical principles to streamline your days, no matter what your family is. And these are very simple ways that can have significant practical impact in your day in and day out. Principle number 1, encourage independence in your children. They need to be able to grow up and mature. And it's a step-by-step process. And we have, at Rainbow, developed a mentoring chart. And this was actually developed by a spouse of one of our consultants. And it works through the different stages of learning a task and then being all the way able to accomplish it. So the first stage is the directive stage. This is where you are highly involved, you're giving all of the directions, and you're not supporting as much in this role. So let's take laundry, for example. Here you're teaching them how to do laundry. You're showing them how to pick them out, how to sort them, what colors use what color, what heat, all of that sort of thing. All of the directions that you feel are important to do laundry well. Okay, so that's the directive phase. And then you move into the next stage, which is the coaching stage. And there are highly directive, you're giving lots of directions, but they are starting to move in and do this. And so as you're reminding them and teaching them how to do the laundry, then they are following your example and doing those steps. And you're alongside each other. So you're highly directing and you're also highly supporting. And then you should move into a supporting role, where you are backing off on the directions, but you're supporting them to do the right thing. And so they're throwing their laundry in the wash, but then you catch the red sock in with the whites and you say, hey, take a look at that laundry, make sure everything's right. So you're supporting them, helping them to succeed, but you're not telling them every step to do. You're monitoring, you're moving them along, and encouraging them in the process. And then the last step is the delegating stage. And that is where you're able to say, you need to do your laundry and you need to have it done by such and such time weekly, and they're able to accomplish that task well. Now, at any of these stages, there's a temptation as a parent to stop in the process or to take the task back. And I had a friend who taught her children how to do laundry, and then they started doing it, she didn't like the results. So she pulled it back and she took over the laundry. And actually, they graduated, left the home, never knowing how to do laundry correctly themselves. And so we can have that temptation because this is a messy process and there's lots of opportunities to fail and practice and get back up and try again. And if we are not following these steps, our children will not learn independence. And they'll also have difficulty working with principle number 2, working as a team. Because as you work through this mentoring stages, then they should be able to teach others and assist others. And so as they are growing up and doing their own laundry, they're able to teach other people and also guide your younger ones coming on how to do laundry as well. So it's extremely important to make sure that as a large family, your family members are all contributing. Remember that you are not the only member of this family. It's very encouraging for kids to recognize that they're part of the team and they are contributing to this and maintaining the home and learning how to care for things and becoming independent and maturing as part of a contributing member of the family. And what about those little ones, those preschoolers that need to be learning, but you've got other responsibilities with your older kids? Here are some tips. You can use things I like to call learning bins. Set aside specific learning activities that are only accessible during school time and have them be available for your preschoolers that you can easily monitor, but you can also be involved with your older kids. And this is not the time to just keep them busy. That's not what we're talking about. We want to have opportunities for them to be independent learners and to use these activities that are self-directed to really learn. And so for little ones, you can focus on things like developmental skills, fine motor dexterity, like picking up cotton balls with ice cream scoops and placing them in muffin tins, or activities that help develop and strengthen their learning styles, where they can explore and discover, recycling bins where they can create dinosaurs with transparent tape. Anything with transparent tape is a hit. Where they search for items, sensory bins, anything like that. They're accessible only at certain times, and watch those kids really get excited about learning and discovering on their own. Now, can you use these for older? Sure, just change the focus. Your middles, they need to be supplementing their reading. They need to be doing things like special activities, motor skills. What about creating art through found items, STEM activities, learning games, games that reinforce what you've been learning in the classroom, logic puzzles, things that will encourage their own development in multiple ways that you won't necessarily handle during regular classroom time, or that will help reinforce what you're learning during regular classroom time. Now, your oldest kids, they need their own space too, and they need to be fostering independence, integrating all of their skills, having projects that will bring all of the skills from multiple subjects together and where they can produce and create. Give them their own spot, make sure they're developing study skills and working through logic puzzles, provide single-player games, etc. All of these things are just ways to get them involved in their own process of learning. So today, I feel as though we've provided you some tools for your home orchestra. Take some time to ponder the family way. Take some time to ponder the family that God has given you and how He wants you to guide them. Work your way through our Rainbow Family Way. Try some of these tips. And we think that you'll stop hearing the clashing cymbals. And instead, wait, do you hear that? Music to my ears.